In this lesson, we'll help demystify the cloud and what all the terminology means. The cloud can be confusing, but by the end of the lesson, you should be able to identify the different types of clouds and their functions. The good news is that we all interact with some type of cloud every day. So let's get started. The cloud is simply a way to deliver information, computing power, and data storage to anyone, regardless of location. There are several cloud computing models to understand. We have private, public, hybrid, multi, and community clouds. Let's examine each one of these to learn what they do. A private cloud is one that doesn't share physical resources with any other company. These are normally found behind an on-premises firewall at a private data center. A private cloud would be used for applications that a company develops for internal use, or a third-party application that's hosted on-premises but is accessed by all the private network workers. A time clock app would be an example of this. A private cloud could also be when a company doesn't utilize any hardware from a third-party provider like AWS, Azure, or GPC. This is also called non-multi-tenancy. This option is very expensive but is used if data is incredibly sensitive and heavily regulated. Public clouds, on the other hand, are very common. This is a model that allows startup companies to reduce their initial costs by sharing hardware and networking infrastructure with other companies, but allowing private data to be kept separate from other tenants. A public cloud is generally open to anyone who's willing to pay. Some companies that offer public clouds are Netflix, Microsoft 365, and Amazon. The public cloud also allows companies to get away from large capital expenditures. This simply means that instead of buying expensive servers and other equipment, they use a public cloud and only pay for what they use as they go. A hybrid cloud is a combination of a public and a private cloud. An example would be a company that develops an application that runs on their private cloud but gathers data analytics from a public cloud. Hybrid clouds are also used by companies that have strict regulations on where they can store aggregated, sensitive data. Tier 1 data is the most sensitive, and Tiers 2 and 3 are data that's rarely accessed, like archived backups. Many companies store Tier 1 data on-premises, and Tiers 2 and 3 are stored in a public cloud. This could be a valuable element of a business continuity and disaster recovery plan. Multi-clouds came about as a form of individualism on the part of different business units within a company. The IT departments wanted to restrict the use of public clouds to one vendor. Business units didn't see eye to eye with this idea, so they started opening their own public cloud accounts. Business units selected the vendor they felt provided the best resources for the job at hand, and in the end, companies ended up with multiple cloud providers that needed to be managed. IT departments have adapted to this model by hiring vendor specialists to work with the different business units. Community clouds are generally divided up by category, for example, social and technical. A community cloud is free for the end user. All they need is a username, password, and maybe an alias. Some examples of community clouds are Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, GitHub, and more. With community clouds, there's no service level agreement, or SLA, for end users. Other clouds have SLAs specified in the contracts. That's it for this lesson. In this lesson, we introduced you to cloud models. We covered private, public, hybrid, multi, and community clouds, and the roles they play in the overall cloud structure.